Hey, this is Mary from the Daily Sew, and today we're talking about paper. Normally we don't sew on paper. In fact, we're not going to sew on paper, but we need paper for patterns. And this is true if you're just tracing off a pattern, if you're making a simple alteration of a pattern, or if you're going all out and drafting your own pattern. There's all different types of paper out there for pattern making. You might have heard about quite a few of them. So today we're going to take some of the more popular ones that you've heard about, and I'm going to tell you the pros and cons, what their best uses are, and all the links for all the different types of paper are going to be on my website, and there's a link to that article in the description below. All right, let's go. First up, artist tracing paper. This is what I usually use. It is tracing paper, therefore it's great for tracing patterns. PDF tiled patterns, multi-size patterns, anything where you want to keep the original intact. It's also great for tracing a pattern that you know you're going to alter, because if you make any mistakes in your alteration, you've got the original still there to start over. Tracing paper on a roll like this can come as wide as 36 inches, so almost all your pattern pieces are going to fit on it. It's economical. This 50-yard roll is about 50 cents a yard. You can see through it quite easily, and you can usually find it at large office supply stores. The bad thing is, it could tear easily with a lot of erasing. Medical exam paper. This is the paper that you sit on in the doctor's office. It's thinner than artist tracing paper, but very similar in other ways. It's pretty darn cheap too. A 75-yard roll is only about 14 cents a yard. But it only comes 21 inches wide, which means you'll be taping pieces of it together for pattern making. Medical exam paper is also designed to tear easily, and with pattern making, that's a feature that you may not appreciate. This is dot paper, also known as alphabet paper. This is the paper we used in pattern making class. This paper is bright white and has a blue mark on it and every inch in both directions. It sometimes is a number or a letter or some sort of mark. But that grid makes this the best paper for drafting patterns or for making major alteration to a pattern. Dot paper is not transparent, but it is see-through. You may need to put it on a white background and have good light, but you can see through it. Dot paper also has a nice weight to it, which means you can cut it without it tearing, which is great for any slash and spread alterations that you might be doing. Any marks on dot paper erase away really cleanly, and again, it's being strong so it doesn't tear so easily. Dot paper comes 45 inches wide, which means 99% of your pattern pieces are going to fit on it. It's stronger than tracing paper. Again, it erases easily, and you can see through it. Those are all great for pattern making. The cons, it is a little expensive, well, more so than tracing paper. It's about $1.17 a yard. And you can't always find it where you live, but you can order it online. Brown craft paper, also known as butcher paper. Brown craft paper is probably not what you think of when it comes to pattern making paper, being that it is opaque, but it does have its uses. Brown craft paper is great for tracing off a garment in which you're making a pattern from. It's also good for craft patterns, a pattern that maybe you're going to trace repeatedly over and over again. The thickness and sturdiness of the brown craft paper means you won't distort the shape of the pattern you keep retracing. Brown craft paper can also be used to reinforce tissue patterns. Simply tape your tissue pattern onto the brown craft paper using double-sided tape and cut it out, and there you have a reinforced pattern piece you can use over and over again. The pros of brown craft paper is it is 30 inches wide, so a lot of pattern pieces will fit on it. It's strong and sturdy, and it's economical at 50 cents a yard approximately. Plus, you can always find it at office supply stores and in shipping aisles of big box stores. The cons, it is opaque, so there is no tracing. But of course you can use transfer paper and a tracing wheel. And the folds are not crisp due to its thickness. Bonded textiles. There are quite a few bonded textiles on the market. The one you may have heard of, Swedish tracing paper. Bonded textiles are very, very similar to a non-woven, non-fusible, lightweight interfacing, which you probably could use in place of one of these. All the types of bonded textiles I looked into were 100% polyester. They all claimed not to tear, and they all said they're sewable. Sewable means that you can trace a pattern, cut it out, baste the pieces together, and check for fit before you cutting out your good fabric. After that, the different bonded textiles have different features depending on the brand. Some are inkjet printable, some are pre-printed with a grid like dot paper. They vary in widths and in transparency. Bonded textiles are for tracing patterns and not for drafting patterns because I don't believe they erase, and with ink, the bleed through would be a problem. The pros of bonded textiles is they won't tear. Pattern pieces made with the bonded textile will grip the fabric that you're cutting out, so less pins are needed. You can see through it. It doesn't curl like paper. It will not disintegrate under a tracing wheel or with repeated pin pricks or tailor tacks. And pieces can be basted together to check for fit. However, basting together your bonded textile pieces to check for fit is not the same as making a muslin because bonded textiles do not drape like fabric does, and drape is as important as fit. Please keep that in mind. The con is it is costly. It's about $3 a yard, and it's not always easy to find locally, but of course you can order it online. Oak tag. Oak tag is similar to tagboard in its weight and its thickness. It comes 48 inches wide on a really large roll, but you can also buy it in sheets size 18 inches by 24 inches. It's used in the fashion industry for slopers. Slopers, here on the screen, are the basic blocks used by pattern makers to draft a new pattern. Because oak tag is thick, it can be traced around over and over without distortion to the shape or without tearing at the notch points or other marks made into it. If you created a sloper on paper, you staple it onto the oak tag, then cut the oak tag out around the pattern as if cutting out fabric. This is the way to transfer the pattern accurately to a more permanent substrate. Oak tag sells for about 90 cents a yard, but with shipping it can be as much as $1.50 a yard. So, can you use newspaper or tissue paper or any kind of paper you have lying around the house? Of course you can. If you use newspaper, be careful of ink transferring onto your fabric, and if you use gift bag tissue paper, be careful of any dye transferring onto your fabric. You can use any paper you want to use, but having the right paper can make the job go smoother. That's a wrap for this video. You can find a link for all these papers in the description below. And thank you for watching. It's been great. Goodbye. Ciao.